Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take a long, deep, and friendly walk through everything you could possibly want to know about WEN, that playful, culture-first memecoin on Solana that has been lighting up wallets, feeds, and meme channels. What WEN actually is, how it started, the real numbers behind the token right now, the new updates making headlines, what the community is doing, and the question I know you're thinking about, could WEN ever realistically hit $1? Also, is it safe to invest? I'll give you my honest take, scenario-based price outlooks, and what signals I'd watch if I were personally trading or holding WEN. Let's start from the beginning because WEN's origin story is important to understanding why the token behaves the way it does and why so many people treat it like culture rather than a normal crypto protocol. WEN began not as a marketing stunt or a celebrity-backed drop, but as a tiny creative moment. A poem called A Love Letter to WEN Bros by a pseudonymous author often referred to as Meow, a name connected to the Jupiter Dex community on Solana. That poem was minted as an NFT, not a random JPEG, but a piece of on-chain culture. And then that NFT was fractionalized into a massive token supply. The idea was simple and almost charming. Instead of one collector owning the poem, anyone in the community could own a piece of it. That fractionalization created the WEN token. The project was explicitly distributed widely and fairly via airdrops to millions of Solana wallets so that there weren't a handful of whales controlling launch allocations. That origin, art first, token second, community-centric launch, is why people still call WEN more of a cultural property than a pure financial instrument. If you want to show this to viewers on screen, that origin story is documented by multiple Solana community resources and major exchanges that wrote explainers when WEN launched. Now let's talk numbers because everyone watching wants to know, what is WEN worth right now? How many tokens exist? And how liquid is the market? As of today's snapshot, WEN trades in the very small decimals typical of memecoins, roughly the 0.00004 area, with daily volume in the low millions of dollars and a market capitalization sitting around $29 to $30 million. The circulating supply is enormous in raw token terms, about 727 to 729 billion WEN in circulation, and similar reported as max supply, depending on the data source. That supply figure is not a clerical error. The social design was to fractionalize the NFT into a huge number of units so lots of people could say they own WEN. Those are the headline numbers that matter for valuation math, and they explain why single token prices are so small and why a dollar target is extremely unlikely without massive changes to supply or token model. For the live data folks, you can confirm the price and supply snapshot on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, Coinbase, Kraken, and other major trackers. Price history matters too, because WEN is a classic memecoin roller coaster. WEN hit its most hyped moments in early 2024 and again in waves as Solana memecoin cycles caught fire. The token recorded its all-time highs in those early meme surges and then pulled back, sometimes brutally, as speculative love cooled and as the general risk-on/risk-off cycles in crypto shifted. Since meme tokens are driven heavily by community sentiment, social activity, and viral moments, WEN's price has exaggerated swings. It can triple on a news day, crash on a sell the news day, and stay boring for months when the internet's attention has moved on to the next viral thing. That's not a bug. It's a feature of cult tokens that trade on emotion. Before we dig into future scenarios, let's cover everything new and notable that's happening with WEN, because the news is what triggers the next wave of attention. Most recently, in the last few months, WEN announced a strategic creative partnership with Elevate Pictures, or Elevate Media, to build out an IP ecosystem. That means WEN is trying to evolve from memecoin into a media property, comics, animation, branded products, and a storytelling universe. This pivot from pure token to intellectual property plays into a broader trend we've seen in the crypto world, where strong community brands try to translate social energy into off-chain revenue and mainstream awareness. The partnership news has been publicized on WEN's official channels and picked up by crypto news feeds a month ago. And if you show that headline on screen, it helps viewers understand why some traders call this phase the WEN to IP upgrade. Let me be clear about what that IP move implies. If When successfully becomes a recognizable brand across animation, comics, and merchandise, two things could happen to the token. First, renewed cultural relevance could bring new buyers into the market who want to participate in the story, especially if the team pair IP milestones with on-chain rewards, NFTs, or token-burning mechanics. Second, real-world IP does not automatically translate into token value unless the token itself has a clear economic role in the ecosystem, e.g. royalties, ownership rights, governance of IP, or exclusive access. Right now, the When token's value proposition is mainly cultural and speculative, not utility-based in the way DeFi tokens are. Translating IP success into token value requires careful token engineering. Otherwise, you get brand attention without token lift. Next, we should talk about where you can buy, trade, and store When. Because When lives on Solana, transactions are very cheap and fast compared to Ethereum-only meme coins, and that accessibility is part of the token's mass appeal formula. You can trade When on major centralized exchanges that listed it during its popularity cycle, platforms like KuCoin, Gate.io, Kraken, and others, and it's also available across Solana dexes like Radium and Jupiter. Wallet adoption is straightforward. Phantom, Solflare, Slope. Standard Solana wallets support WEN with no extra friction. That ecosystem support helps maintain a baseline of liquidity and gives meme holders easy ways to access the token without custody risk from niche marketplaces. Now let's shift to the psychology and culture, because any long video about When has to explain why people keep buying a token that's technically an enormous fractionalization of a poem. Meme tokens work on identity and belonging. For many holders, When is a badge. You were there for the fair airdrop. You hold a piece of the poem. You belong to the culture. The social mechanics, memes, merch, Discord rituals, tipping creators, create recurring micro-events that re-trigger liquidity. Community-run events, tips, or social campaigns can create tiny burns or liquidity pushes that aggregate into bigger moves. The novelty of When, that owning it is owning a fragment of an NFT poem, is a powerful narrative hook that draws people who want to be part of internet culture more than investors seeking passive yield. When we talk about future prices, we must be brutally realistic about the numbers and mechanics. Wen's circulating supply is in the hundreds of billions. For the token to reach $1 per unit, you'd be looking at a theoretical market capitalization in the hundreds of billions of dollars, well into the territory of the largest national currencies and bigger than almost all individual commodities. In practice, $1 per When without supply restructuring or fractional redenomination is close to impossible. There are only a few paths to even remotely approach such a target. Either the token supply must be dramatically reduced, burns, redenomination events, or the token must be redefined, split into scarce utility tokens, or tokenomics must change to attach large off-chain cash flows to token ownership, royalty pools, IP revenue sharing. Even then, the odds are low, so if someone in the comments says, "When $1 soon," take it with a grain of salt and check what supply model they assume in their math. Given that, let's build practical, realistic price scenarios. Because that's ultimately what viewers want, a sense of how to think about upside and downside. I'll give 3 scenarios: conservative, base case, and optimistic. In a conservative scenario, When remains a niche culture token with cyclical pumps around new meme cycles and IP teasers. Price oscillates in a range, perhaps doubling or tripling during hype and dropping back when attention fades. Over 12 to 24 months, under modest IP success and continued community engagement, When could trade in the 0.00005 to 0.000012 band. That means early holders could see short-term gains during hype windows, but long-term returns would depend on whether the IP strategy converts to steady off-chain demand. In a base case scenario, the Elevate Pictures partnership successfully produces visible, shareable content, comics, animation teasers, and merchandising. And the team ties token utility to IP, for example, exclusive NFTs, token-gated merch drops, or revenue-sharing mechanisms. If those moves lead to a multi-wave cultural readoption and some token burning or buyback mechanic is introduced, WEN might move into a 0.00012 6/100ths of 1 cent range over a 2 to 4 year horizon. That's meaningful, a multi-fold return from current prices, but still far from dollar territory. This scenario needs clear execution milestones, product releases, audience growth, and tokenomics changes that actually reduce circulating pressure or attach real cash flows to token ownership.